What is up, YouTube? JankyYGO here. My name is Michael. I know I missed yesterday's upload, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you about Doremichord's, the new waifu magical girl pendulum deck coming out over in the OCG, which means we're going to get them in the TCG eventually. So, what is the Doremichord? Well, I covered the first card that they spoiled on Valentine's Day, so be sure to check that out. It'll be somewhere. Maybe I'll put in a little information thing. It'll definitely be at the card at the end of the video as well, so do be sure to check that out. Anyway, without further ado, let's get in to the cards. So, first up is our level 1 Earth Doremichord. Cutia. I'm sure it's just gonna be like called Cutie or something like that in the TCG. It's a level 1 Earth Fairy Pendulum, 100 attack, 400 defense, and its pendulum scale is 8. And all the pendulums, I'm assuming, have this effect because the level 8 had this effect that we covered yesterday. Is pendulum monsters, pendulum summons of the Doremichords cannot be negated, so no solemn strike. Anyway, it's monster effect. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Doremichord pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, except for itself. If you have an even number scale in your pendulum zone, pendulum monsters you control gain 100 attack times their own pendulum scale. It itself is an even number for its pendulum, so it already gets its thing. Unless it needs to be, it's missing some dialogue or some translation. It's a mistranslation that says if you have another even number. If it says that, then it is, because it itself has an even number pendulum scale. So it turns on itself. So all your pendulum monsters gain 100 times their pendulum, which, if this is summoned and you put this in the pendulum scale. Oh wait, no, this is not the pendulum effect. I'm a dummy. Well, if you have this in the pendulum thing as well, you get this effect. Anyway, it pumps up itself by 100 and all your Do-Re-Mi pendulum monsters. Pretty good effect card, is what I'm trying to say. It's the Rhoda. It's a good Rhoda, and you're gonna play it. It's a 1-for-1 target. I don't know if they have graveyard recursion. Most pendulum decks don't have too many of that, but we'll have to see. Next up, Doremichord. That's Do-Re-Mi chord. This is Doremichord Dreamia. Level 2 Wind Fairy Pendulum effect. 600 attack, 400 defense with a pendulum scale of 7. It has the Do-Re-Mi pendulum clause of they can't not be, the pendulum summons of them cannot be negated. So, woo. If there is a Do-Re-Mi, its monster effects are, first one is, if a Do-Re-Mi card in your pendulum zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's pretty easy to, get online. Its second effect is, if you have an odd number pendulum scale in your pendulum zone, and a Do-Re-Mi pendulum monster you control would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can destroy this card instead of one of that card or cards. So it's protection. It's probably the weakest, or it's weaker than the level 1 for sure. But it is a way to special summon itself from the hand, so that's not bad at all. And you can link summon with it. I don't know what you're going into at this moment, because the Metal Foes Link monster is banned still, which it probably is going to stay banned. This card is okay if we get a good Link monster for them, but until we do, it's okay. Next up, Doremichord Elidia, which is a level 3 water fairy pendulum effect monster. I also like that they went 1, 2, 3, and they're all different attributes too. That's pretty cool. Level 3, as I said, 1100 attack, 400 defense. Pendulum scale of 6. Normal pendulum for the Doremi's. They all have this one, so I'm just going to say it's the Doremi pendulum effect. Monster effect. If this is a normal or special summon, you can target one spell or trap card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. If you have an even number pendulum scale in your pendulum zone, you take no battle damage from battles involving Doremi pendulum monsters you control. So this deck is like pretty, it protects you while rewarding you for keeping your monsters kind of on the field, which is neat. This one says no battle damage, one says protects from card destruction, one searches and gives attack. This is a decent deck so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what to do with the deck. A lot of people aren't the biggest fan of pendulums, I know that. However, this deck is pretty cool looking, and like I said, I can't wait to see more. I'm gonna keep going though. Is Doremichord, Fonse. I'm gonna butcher the last parts almost every time. Level 4 Fire Pendulum Fairy, 1600 attack, 400 defense. With a scale of 5, it has the Doremi Pendulum effect that all of them do. During your main phase, you can take one Doremi Pendulum monster from your deck, except for it, and place it face up in the extra deck. That's actually a really powerful effect. Electromite had a similar effect of just placing it in the face up in the extra deck, because as we know, you can pendulum summon those out once you get link monsters, so that's pretty good. If you have an odd pendulum scale in your pendulum zone and a Doremi pendulum monster you control will be destroyed by battle, you could destroy this card instead. Protects from battle. So yeah, all these cards so far, it's get card advantage of some sort, card advantage or field advantage, and then some type of protection effect is the second one. That's usually a marking of a decent deck. It just depends on how good the spell and trap cards and the other support is. But so far the monsters, none of them are really that bad. This one's like meh, mediocre. This one so far is probably arguably the worst. This one's arguably the best. But anyway, we're going to move on to Doremichord, Gracio. Level 5 Water Fairy Pendulum Effect Monster. 2100 attack, 1400 defense with a scale of 4. Oh! Hey! We have a different pendulum effect. Okay! So all the level 4 lowers say, your pendulum monsters cannot be negated. This one says, when you pendulum summon a Doremi pendulum monster, your opponents cannot activate monster spells or traps. That's really, really good, because then they can't be, so if you pendulum summon this out, not only can they not be, they can't be negated, so they can't solemn strike it, warning, or judgment, or they can't also activate a torrential after the pendulum summon with like one of these as well. So your summoning is happening. After that though, it's all fair game. Now we're gonna go to the monster effect, and you can only use its first effect per turn as a hard monster per turn by name. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Doremi spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Gives you card advantage. What's its protection effect? If you have an even pendulum scale in your pendulum zone and your Doremi pendulum monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate monster effects until the end of the damage step. Also really good, them not being able to activate monsters. Allows you to get over things like the Mech Knight. The Avramax, I think is its name. It's the Link 4 Mech Knight that your special summon, it attacks over like every special summon monster in the game, because, oh, look at that, you can't, what's it called? You can't, it gains attack equal to the special summon monster's attack. I apologize for, I accidentally keep right clicking. But yeah, this card's pretty good. Card advantage, protection. Card advantage, protection. That's what it's been. So this one is the same pendulum effect as the last one. It's a level 6 Fire Fairy Pendulum Effect monster with a 2300 attack, 1400 defense, with the pendulum scale of 3. Pendulum effect, like I said, same with the last one. Your opponent cannot activate things when you pendulum summon. Monster effect. First one is a hard once per turn. During your main phase, you contribute one Doremichord pendulum monster, and if you do, you special summon one with a pendulum scale that is 2 higher or lower than the tributed, except for itself. Okay, that's not that bad. Especially because what you can do is, right, you play this, you pendulum summon it out, something, right, and then you tribute it, and then you tribute like the one that can special summon itself in the hand if you have like a different scales, right, because the scales are kind of all over the place, but you can, like, this one that special summons its hand, 2 higher or lower than 7 for its pendulum scale, would be like the 5, which would be the 4-star, which lets you put one in the extra deck, which allows you to set up for next turn as well, and, you know, all of these cards give some form of protection as well. That's really, really good. And then this protection is your opponent cannot activate spell or trap or the effects of them until the end of the damage step when they attack. So if you have both these out, your opponent cannot activate anything when you declare an attack. Overall, really, really good. Next up, see Doremichord Beautia. Level 7, Fairy Pendulum Effect Monster. 2500 attack, 2400 defense. Biggest hitter so far, pendulum scale of 2. When you pendulum summon a Doremichord, your opponent cannot activate monster effects or spell or trap cards. So, same as the last two. Monster effect. You can use this card's first effect name per turn. Only once per turn, basically. Quick effect. You can target one effect monster your opponent controls it during this turn. If it would leave the field, banish it. If you have an even number of pendulum zone, you can target one face-up spell or trap card your opponent controls instead. Once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster with an attack that is equal to or lower, or equal to or higher than the lowest pendulum scale in your pendulum zone times 300, you can destroy that monster. So if you have in the lowest pendulum, so if you have a 1 in your pendulum while this is out on the field, 300 times 1 or higher, so 300 or higher monsters at the start of damage step, it just destroys the monster. That's pretty good. It's a form of removal, kind of. It doesn't actually get rid of the card itself, but it allows it to banish it instead of leaving the field, which means that, you know, bouncing the spell or trap card that we talked about earlier is fine, is a lot better now. On top of that, if you have a way to destroy an opponent's monster, like a Trident effect, quick effect, pop, and all that, this card can banish it instead. It's going to still just try to just mark it for destruction, and then it would be banished when it leaves the field, so it doesn't go to the graveyard and possibly get an effect that way. So that's pretty good. It's kind of like a macrocosmos in that sense. So far, all of them pretty decent. We talked about this card. It's really good. That's the TLDR. This one synergizes really well with this one because this one destroys cards. This is also a pendulum scale 1, so it works with the level. You get this one, and then the level 1 in your pendulum scales, and then you can pendulum summon 1 through 8 or 2 through 8, which is the rest of the archetype, which is probably where you want to be at. And that also stops your opponent from stopping your pendulum summons, because this one has the same pendulum effect as the other level 5 or higher, and the level 4 or lower says that they can't be negated. This card, you can't pendulum summon this card out with the deck, because it is the highest level, and the highest is 8. But you can still summon it by attributing 2 pendulums and special summoning from your hand. You can target face-up monster your opponent controls to negate its effects, which is pretty decent. And if you have an odd one, which you should, you target 2 cards, and then also less than the highest pendulum scale and your pendulum zone is activated, you destroy that monster. Attack is higher or less. So if you have the level 8, 3 times 8 is 24, so anything 24 and lower you can destroy. That's really, really powerful. Next up is their spell and trap cards, is what we're going to get to. First up is a normal spell card. Apply these effects in sequence according to the number of Doremi pendulum monsters you control with different names. 3 or more, return 1 card from your pendulum zone to your hand, and if you do, place 1 Doremi pendulum monster from your face-up extra deck to your pendulum zone. Okay, works really well with the one that just puts 1 face-up in your pendulum zone. That's pretty good. 5 or more, special summon 1 Do-Re-Mi pendulum monster from your hand. Okay. And last up, 7 or more, destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls. So, how does one get to control that many? Because at most you can have is 7 Do-Re-Mi pendulum monsters. So you would have to, like, let's say I have a card that lets you, like, throw it in both extra monster zones. Huh. Maybe it's like, oh wait, pendulum monster cards you control with different names. It might be counting the face-up spell, like the face-up pendulum monsters. If it counts the face-up pendulum monsters, then that makes sense. But I can't. But that doesn't seem like it should because of the way it's worded. I don't know. I think 5 or more. Like this one is like the easy one to do. This one is very doable. And you apply them in sequence too, by the way. So in theory, you only need 6 or more. Well, maybe not, but you can easily destroy all fate. If you set it up right, you might be able to get this effect. But I don't know you would try to get this. I think it's more for the replacing, getting one of your returned ones back. I think this is the one that you're going to go for the most, and this is going to be this is like the best one in my opinion anyway. Next up, Doremichord Harmonia. It's a field spell. Select one and activate one of these effects. You can only select these effects of Do-Re-Mi Harmonia once per turn. Add 1 Do-Re-Mi card pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. Have 1 Do-Re-Mi card in your pendulum zone. Gain pendulum scale equal to its level until the end of turn. 3. If you control 3 or more Do-Re-Mi chord pendulum cards with different names that have odd pendulum scales or that have even pendulum scales, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. I believe that the way that this is worded is that you have to have 3 with all 3 of the monsters have to be odd or all 3 have to be even is what it's trying to say. Okay. The effect is probably with the field spell you can actually pendulum summon out the level 8 because you can up it by 2, or you can up the 8 scale by fucking 16, make a pendulum scale of 16 in theory. That'd be ridiculous. Anyway, that's a decent field spell. You'd actually run it, so that's pretty cool. This one's leaning on maybe Doremichord Musica. Normal trap card. You can activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Select one of the following effects based on the pendulum scale of Do-Re-Mi monster cards you control. Well, okay, this one does see different names. Let's say if it says something similar to this, maybe I misjudge that. So, based on the pendulum scale. Odd number, special summon one Doremi Pendulum Monster with an odd number pendulum scale from your extra deck. Even number, special summon one even from your extra deck, both even and odd. You can target an opponent target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. Alright, it's a nice piece of disruption. It works really well with the Mark for Banish card, which is a quick effect, by the way. So you can if you have a odd and an even, you can flip this up, target your opponent's card for destruction, then you mark it so that if it would leave the field, it's banished instead. Seems pretty decent. This definitely seems like kind of like a control-y stun deck, less than an OTK deck. So keep that in mind when building this, which is kind of awkward for pendulums, because pendulums originally they didn't lose any resources. Now they do, but it's awkward now because of you can only have 3 set because of the pendulum zones. So keep that in mind. Last up is Doremichord Formal, which is their counter trap. When your opponent activates a monster effect or a spell trap card, and you control a Doremi card in your pendulum zone, shuffle one pendulum monster from your face-up extra deck, and then apply these effects. Pendulum monsters you control are unaffected by an opponent's card effects. Cards in your pendulum zones cannot be destroyed by that opponent's card effects, and cards in your pendulum zones cannot be banished by the opponent's card effects. So it doesn't negate anything your opponent does, it just stops them from doing it. So if they would blow up your scales or try to mess up with that, you flip this and go, haha, joke's on you, you can't. I don't know if you would actually play this card. You might side deck it. Like, I could see an argument for side decking it, because since it doesn't actually negate anything, it just kind of stops. It kind of does, but it doesn't actually say, the word negate. So keep that in mind. It's alright. And then Wavering Eyes reprint. So what do I think about this archetype? I think that this is a pretty decent archetype, and I might have to, check it out, try to play it. I'll be looking forward to check it out, and if you are excited to see me try this deck out, and maybe a casual duel, be sure to hit that like button, and, tell me down below in the comments section. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday. If you want to send me any cool deck profiles or replays, my email's in the description. I would love to see what you guys can come up with. Whether it be, this deck or any other deck, really. If you have any suggestions for the Casual Duel series, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. And of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.